Hey guys, I'm Alexis.
And I'm Kennedy.
And this is Divine Daughters. Welcome back to another week.
Yay!
So this week we're going to kind of do, not a mini series, because I feel like that's always what we end up doing, you know. But it's like purity, relationships. This one's going to focus more on purity and like what women should strive for. You know, especially women of God, you know. That's kind of what we're going to focus on today. So I guess with like this day and age, it's very easy for women to get a certain idea about how we should present ourselves.
Yeah.
Or that we're just objects to men, I guess. Because I guess the first thing I think of like women in this culture, you know, are women that are being bashed, or that like women choose to do like OnlyFans, or like choose to post their bodies on things to get money. Like that's the fast and easy way, and then you can just like relax the rest of your life, and then till a man comes and pays for the rest of your things. Or like striving for someone rich just to wife us up, and then we just chill and do nothing all day. And which is obviously something that is not biblical. I haven't seen that anywhere in the Bible. Unfortunately, how easy it would be just to have like a rich guy, and then we just lay and tan, and we just, you know, have beautiful kids, and, you know,
love to do that.
Go to church. No. There's too much life to live, you know, and I feel like living it with someone else and for God, there's certain requirements that God requires of us as women, and he requires of men as well. So that's kind of what we're going to focus on today. I know before we even started the podcast, Kay, like we had talked about purity, and like that was something that you felt a certain calling for you specifically. How do you choose to live your life that's like kind of different from everyone else, do you feel? Like how...
I chose to like wait till marriage when I was like in 8th grade. My student pastor, she gave a message on soul ties, and since then I was like, I don't want anybody else's souls like with mine, like, and all their demons because of this one thing. So I was like, I am not doing that.
And that was like pre-deliverance and everything. Yes, so like before you even knew like deliverance and stuff.
So I don't know how old I was, but it was like 8th grade, and since then I like very strived to like live a very pure life. And then in the past like year, like very recently, I like got prayed over, and they were like, you have the purity anointing. So it's like, okay, this makes more sense why like it came easy. I decided at like a younger age that I'm gonna do this. So
yeah, which is good. I mean, for me it's the same thing. I guess for me it never felt like an option. Like I felt like I was gonna be a virgin until marriage. Like it wasn't something that like I chose, or that was gonna be hard. Like that's like, and I never even, all I felt that I had that, you know.
And I guess like, I don't know, because I know a bunch of Christians that like have sex and stuff. So I guess it was like a decision I had to make.
I guess like I knew of people that would have sex or whatever, but it just never crossed my mind. Like for myself, I feel like that wasn't even an option. Like there's been things that like I've messed up on for purity wise, and that like I've had to repent from, and you know, break off soul ties for. But I guess like when it came to like the actual act of like having physical sex, I was always like, that's not for me. Other people, I feel like when it comes to generational curses and demonic strongholds, obviously the families that I knew where people came out of wedlock, like my friends that were conceived out of wedlock, or cheating or whatever, like those circumstances, it made them harder for them. Or like teen pregnancies, like the amount of friends that I knew that were out of teen pregnancies, the likelihood of them getting pregnant before they were 20 was so much higher. And so it wasn't just a personal choice, it was kind of the environment that they were born into. And so, which makes it so much harder for anyone that wasn't born into families like us. Our parents are both still together, so we know that we're set up in that area. So we never want to sound hypocritical, like when we say this, like it should be an obvious, and if you've had sex before marriage, you are out, like sorry. Like no, there's redemption, there's grace, there's purity that can come from this, and beauty can come from ashes. So always knowing that you're never too far gone, and there's always a stopping point. I feel like for any relationship, because we're both in relationships now, and there's been times where both of us, I'm sure, have been tempted, or you know, and
because it is hard. It's like one of the hardest things you're ever gonna do, but the reward for waiting after you get married is way greater than doing it before.
And I guess it is kind of that thing where it's like, I guess you have to wait until it's that time, because you can say, well, then how do you know it's going to be better in marriage? It's like, if you only ever had it in marriage, it's like, wouldn't you want that though? Because at that point,
what it was designed for.
Like I guess for Christians, it makes more sense. Like for non-Christians, I can see the hesitancy because the world feeds you these lies of like,
Yeah. And that's
it's not
like
going to
the
be a good
devil's
relation.
job. Like he's just going to be like, it's not as good. Why do you like test the car, you know,
Yeah.
like test drive the car? Like why would you only want it with one person? But God designed it for that way.
Yeah.
Because of like soul ties and just everything that comes with it.
And my thing is like the analogy practice makes perfect, I'm sure applies to your partners in
I'm
marriage
sure.
one day.
Yeah.
So it's like with anything, like as we draw closer to the Lord, like our relationship's going to get better with the Lord as we draw closer to our boyfriends. And then one day when we're husband and wife, like that's just something that like when you're in college, you have prerequisites, co-requisites.
Yeah.
That's something that you get after you had all the other things. So it should go dating, fiance, marriage, child.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets out of order and it costs more money. So my thing, I guess, in the way of like preventing marriage in like a non-Christian way is like there's a certain order to things, not to prevent you from like having fun or from enjoying all of life. It's to protect you physically,
Protect your
emotionally,
heart,
physically,
spiritually, everything. It really is.
Yeah, because I mean, there can be so many different angles that we come at this, where it's either like nurse-wise, like STDs are a thing. You have all these things, especially in today's day and age. It's not. You can't really have safe sex. It's
not a thing.
There's a boundaries for sex in marriage, and that's where it's safe. That's where its purest form is. You know, it's like we're not saying that sex is dirty at all. That's something that should be wanted and desired, but not in a way that's lustful. And I think it's hard with
I also
everything.
think certain people grow up just hearing don't do it, it's bad. And that kind of makes you more curious and be like, oh, so what is so bad about it? I think when you explain it more of like God is protecting you emotionally, physically, and spiritually, you kind of like, okay, I really don't want to do it then. Kind of like I was explained to it like the soul tie way. So I was like, oh, I really don't want to do it because it's going to hurt you more than help you.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are just like sheltered and their parents are like, don't do it. You're going to get pregnant kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think if people were explained to it more that way, they'd be like, okay, I see the bigger picture.
Yeah. I mean, because it's so hard because there's so many different ways to tell. Like, I can't remember the way that my parents told me, but it definitely wasn't through a book. Like, you know, people like get the book and it's like how sex works. Like, I can understand. I bet it's so weird to try to explain to your children how sex is and what age. Like, that's something as a Christian, I'd be like, Lord, help me to not like scar my child, you know, it's something that's good. Like, I feel like now I have somewhat of a way of like, God created this. God said this was good and it's great because you know what? Mommy, daddy got you, you know? So it's like something that's supposed to be explained in a great way, and it's not weird or gross or awful and then you're going to hell if you don't have it.
And I think that's like a very like a turn off when people are like, you're going to hell because you're doing this. That's just like, okay, well, y'all are crazy kind of thing. I think it needs to be explained way differently than it used to be.
And I mean, because for me, my mom, I think the way that it was happened, like I heard about it at school, and like my mom always said, like, ask me if anything comes up, like if you have any questions, like, and I'll explain it to you. So I'm like, any bad words, I'm like, Mom, what does this word mean? Or what does this mean? You know? And so like I would always ask my mom and she'd be honest and truthful with me. So I feel like as adults now, like I can look back and have a positive experience on like how I view it. And it was never something that was supposed to be disgusting and like, I don't
dirty.
know. Yeah, dirty. Like, no, it was something that's like, it's great.
God designed it for marriage and it's beautiful. It's just, it has to be in the bounds of marriage.
And I feel like for people that like maybe have like had sex outside of marriage, there's for sure there's
redemption. Yes.
Yeah. And you can get purity back. Like,
for sure.
There's nothing that says, okay, you can't have a godly husband now. I guess you have to lower your standards because you've lost something of yourself. It's like we're all broken. You know, sin has made us broken no matter what it is. Everyone's sinned and fallen short of God. So maybe if someone's had sex outside of marriage or someone has lied, someone has cheated, someone, you know, we've all had labels that people or the world puts upon ourselves. But at the end of the day, that doesn't make you less worthy of God's love. And for sure, if a man is committed to God, he's going to love you in that same way that God sees you. He's not going to see you for your past, you know. And that doesn't mean totally have a bad past, you know, and be like, well, now they need to see me as God, you know, as a godly woman. It's like, no, sis, you got to have to like pick your pieces up too, for sure. It's like carrying God's yoke is still heavy. You know, there's still some grit that you have to go through for sure. But yeah, we definitely should not live in sin, shame, and guilt for those things. But confession is definitely a thing. That's kind of what I preach, and what I'm working on for sure is like everyone has their sins and fallen short. Like purity does not just mean purity does not just mean not having like sexual relationships.
No,
it's also how like
the way you carry yourself, the way you act, the way you dress, just who you are as a person.
Yeah, modesty is a big thing. We talked about profanity and cursing. Like there's a sense of having
it's also like your heart, like having a pure heart. Just there's a lot more than just, when people think of purity, they think of just like sex.
Yeah.
But it's a lot more than that.
And I think the heart thing is the biggest issue for sure, because like our hearts are wicked and corrupt. Like you see all these things saying, oh, follow your heart. Baby, don't follow your heart, because your heart is confused. The devil can like twist that. Like we all like our Hallmark movies. We like our little romances where they get together, you know, they have this rugged background and then they get together and then they kiss and then it's happy ever after. Like unfortunately, that's not how it always goes. So purity in that form is like, starting with the heart issue, it's like, okay, man, I'm going to have to probably work on some things on the interior. Why do I want to wear this outfit?
Yeah.
Why am I wearing makeup? I'm not saying against makeup.
No.
We just bought new makeup. I love makeup. It's fun. It's cute. I like to do it in the morning. Or like different outfits. Some outfits I'm like, okay, I think, you know, it's never I should get away with this moment. It's just like, okay, is this a thing where I want to feel pretty?
Yeah.
But it's making, you know, someone else stumble. I don't know. Like, there's always fine lines to that, you know? And I feel like it's hard to determine. I feel like it's more of like the Holy Spirit conviction for sure.
It is, yeah.
Because I've had different points in my life where I feel like I can go out with leggings and a shirt that doesn't cover my butt and I'm completely fine.
Yeah.
And there's other times where I'm like, okay, I got to wear like a big sweatshirt over it. Or I'm like, okay, no crop tops. Or then sometimes I'm like, well, if it's my pants are high enough and it's only showing this much of my stomach, I don't know how much someone can stumble over, you know, my Oreo that I had earlier, like, you know. But there's always, I feel like the people around you for sure influence you, so you need to be around godly company for sure. I mean, because like Kennedy keeps me pure. I think like having like conversations,
I think you need someone to keep you accountable. So if you do stumble, be like, hey, I messed up, and like, okay, well, next time you're about to mess up, go for a walk. My thing is like, if you are about to mess up, like, let's go for a walk, because you can't do anything outside in the middle of your neighborhood, you know. So go for a walk. Or if it's getting too late, don't hang out past like 8 p.m. because, you know, bad things happen after 10 p.m. So if it's like, okay, set a rule where it's like, I'm leaving at 8 p.m. or when the sun goes down. I know right now it's hard because it's daylight savings shade, so 4 p.m. you gotta dip, but like at 8 p.m. be like, okay, I'm going home, because obviously if I stay later, I'm gonna want to sleep over, and sleeping over leads to other things. So,
and I think there's always the boundaries of that, because like for me, like I have to drop him off late at night, like I have to pick him up at
everybody's
10.
different. It's just, you should set boundary. Like one of yours, it's like when you drop him off, you don't go inside, because even if it's 2 a.m. and that's a good one to have.
And my thing is, there's always ways where you can like stay away from temptations. Everyone knows where they get tempted, so like for us, don't go in the bedroom, or like don't
like,
go, like
set those boundaries. Like
you could stay in the living room, or like, you know, you can stay out past, you know, a certain time late at night, because nothing's gonna happen. But like, you know, where areas, and it's, you're not trying to avoid sin, you're trying to stay away from the temptation.
And you don't want to, like, a lot of people ask, like, how far can I go? Like, what is too far? Like, how far can I get to there before we cross the line? I think you should stay as far as the line possible, like as pure as possible. Like, you shouldn't be wanting to, like, how far can we go before it becomes a problem? You should be like, how little can we do so we don't even have to even try to get to that problem?
Yeah. And that way you're never like, you see, like when you get into marriage, then it's like a thing where it's like, okay, well, now this is right now. And it's like this awkward transition of, okay, before everything had to be like kept in secret in darkness, and then now it's really like a light thing.
Like when you get married, it's like there's a shift when you get married, so it's not going to be awkward, like, oh, now we can do this and this. Like, I don't think it's gonna be awkward. I think if you find the right person, it's gonna be like how you was when you were dating.
And my thing is like everything, it's like, it's innate, like it's nature. Like you're naturally
you were born like to do this. Like, you're not gonna skip a beat, I promise you. That's why everyone's like, oh, test drive the car before. I promise like, you're not gonna skip a beat.
Your husband's not gonna care, like legit.
He is a man. He is not going to be
I think it's confused. The funniest thing is I can wear the cute little outfit and he's like, wow, you
Yeah.
look so pretty. I'm like, I'm not worried that, like
Yeah.
a certain day, like I need to be a certain size when I'm in front of him. Like, it's
Yeah.
like he chose me because he loves me and my love for the Lord and like my love for him. Like, there's nothing that I have to be worried or insecure about. So like now where I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not going to do the right thing or whatever. It's like, that's something that you're growing in. Like, practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
I say that all the time. Like, practice makes perfect in every aspect. So when you're with someone that you love and care about, there's not going to be any room for insecurity or doubt.
Yeah.
And if there is, that's something that you need to consult the Lord about, and that you definitely don't need to be doing outside of marriage, because you want to do that with a partner that loves you.
And I heard this like one time at like a conference, and they said a fast beating heart, there's nothing pure about a fast beating heart. So there's nothing pure about a fast beating heart. So like if you're doing something you're not supposed to and your heart's like beating really, really fast, is that the purest thing we should be doing right now? Let's just take a step back and think about it.
Yeah, it's like, that's how we do cardio. There's other ways to do
there's
cardio.
other ways to get your cardio in. So
that's funny. Your Fitbit's alerting you need to stop.
Yes.
Or your
Apple
Watch.
Watch is
Your
telling
Apple
you
Watch.
reach a fitness goal.
Yeah.
Maybe we should go for a walk.
Whoa. It's funny. But no, that's such a good point, because there's so many things that's like, what is your heart long after? You know, like God says, like, I want your full heart. I want all of you.
And you're still human at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So you're gonna sometimes choose the human one over the spiritual one.
Oh, for sure. And there's always a way to go back. It doesn't mean that it's going to be easy, especially if you've gone far and like going back down to ground zero. You're like,
yes,
dang.
And anybody can start. So if you're listening to this and you're like, we've done everything under the sun, you can always start now if you really want. If you get convicted and you're like, you know what, we should have boundaries, you can always start now.
There's always little steps. Like for me, like praying with my boyfriend is a great way. I feel like you need to have prayer in dating, prayer in fiance stage, prayer. Like you want to introduce it, because if you're scared to introduce the God card, that's your foundation. Like you need to go back to that. And maybe that's for you, is saying we need to take a step back and re-see if like this is where God wants us. Maybe it could be a right person, wrong time. And that's valid. It doesn't mean
like, or just wrong person altogether.
Yeah, wrong person altogether. That's true as well. I feel like some people, like, they don't like the concept of breaks, and I think for sure don't do breaks. Like every time you get into a conflict, don't take a break and consult the Lord, because when you get married,
there's no break. Like what are you gonna do? Like bye? No,
you can't sleep in bed with me. No, that's not biblical. So there is a certain point where you're in your dating relationship, and you need to figure out, okay, what is the Lord telling me in this? Do I need to take a step back so that I can hear the Lord more clearly? And if you can hear the Lord more clearly outside of a relationship, maybe you need to be listening to him more, than worrying about something else, so I guess the final statements of this video, I would say be prayerful about it, whether you're in the single stage, whether you're in the dating stage, whether you're fiancés, no matter how far you've gone with purity, whether it's the sexual purity or whether it's just the heart posture, be prayerful about it. It's a partnership at the end of the day, so never leave your partner out. Always consult them if you're going through problems.
Yes, always communication is key.
Yeah, and then get some prayer warriors with you. It's never shameful to go up to people and say, I'm in a rut. Don't stay in the pigsty. For sure, get yourself cleaned up. Let someone embrace you and work for that next step. But it's always possible. Purity is not always easy, but it's what you should strive for.
But it's rewarding at the end of the day.
Very rewarding. So, but okay. We love y'all. Y'all have a great week, and we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.